Greetings, Dr. Joseph Martin here. Adi Shankaracharya, whose name means, from Sanskrit, bestower of happiness. And what a great name that is. Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. Now, Adi Shankaracharya lived between 686 AD and 718 AD. So a very short life of 32 years. And also, he's called the most important and the greatest and most brilliant personality in the history of Indian thought from India. So we need to know more about this gentleman. And this is my ongoing series in my attempt to bring back to the 21st century and beyond all the greatest thinkers and spiritual masters from India, from Tibet, and from other great parts of the world. Eastern, Western, and Indigenous. Adi Shankaracharya. Well, here's the story about his birth. His mother and father were unable to conceive a child and were aging. And they had prayed and prayed and prayed to Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva for a child. And at one point, Shiva appeared to them, both of them separately and then together, and asked them this question: would you rather have a normal child who will live a long life and be unexceptional, or would you rather have a brilliant child who will live a very short life and enjoy and inspiring lots of people on the planet? Individually and then together, the mother and the father agreed they would rather have Shiva incarnate as a child who would be exceptional and have a short life, hence 32. And 32 is the number of the heart. And that's very much what Shankaracharya is about. Even though he was the most brilliant philosopher, critical thinker, compiler of knowledge, and made commentaries on the Brahma Sutras, the Upanishads, the Vedas, and the Bhagavad Gita, and composed thousands of hymns, or gathas as we call them, and here's the hymns of Shankara that you can find available online as well. Even though he was the greatest mind that they'd had in India for a long time, and still considered to be the greatest mind among so many great philosophers, he was a Bhakti yogi. He was a monastic, he was a monk, he was interested in controlling and opening his mind to the will of the light or the divine. He was very much, he'd never had sex with anybody, and of course that's what the true nature of a monk is. He wanted to show self-control in a time then and now where there was just mass seeking of pleasure and materialistic things. He went against the grain, as all great spiritual masters and philosophical people do, and showed that with the power of critical thinking in the mind and unitive thought, that all could be well, and this is in fact our goal as a human individual and as a human species. Now, this is the main point of Shankaracharya's teachings. It's this: unitive thought. Vedanta means the completion or the end of the Vedas. So we have Veda and then Anta and Vedanta in the word. So it means the completion of the Vedas. It means the compiling of all the different knowledge and making it into a unit of thought principle and series of experientials. Now, he traveled the Indian subcontinent, and it said that he, what was the word they used? A tour of conquest. He debated all the greatest minds within India in that time, in the 7th century, in the early 8th century, in the Common Era. And said that many times there was one greatest philosopher at the time that he debated for about 30 days and finally won the debate. And then this man became his follower. And then he debated this king's wife, and that took 15 days, and then she became a follower. So one after another, all the sectarian Hindu thinkers, and remember the Vedanta is not a religion at all. It's a philosophy. It's a metaphysics. It's a way of knowing the universe and having a oneness between the knower, yourself, the knowing, the knowledge, and the knower or the creator himself, herself. All three as one. And so, one after another, many Hindu sects uh, started to follow his teachings in which he had written down. And they were written down in many, many books. But here's one that's Vivekuchudamani, The Crest Jewel of Discrimination, written by Shankaracharya about 1300 years ago. And here we have a translation and a bit of a commentary by Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood, available anywhere in the world, likely online. Crest Jewel of Discrimination. Now, as he traveled around, many people felt that he was incorporating too much of the Buddhist tradition, but he called the Buddha, and this is an interesting term in itself, the emperor of yogis in the Kali Yuga age. And hence, we have this now with us. And so we have a man who comprises both the most important elements of being human: a very clear, pure mind, and a deep devotional heart that was very compassionate, kind, and gentle. What an awesome combination. Of course, that's the epitome of being a divine human being, isn't it? And so he enjoyed great popularity among all the people in India because he expressed the unity of all the Vedas in the Vedanta, and also showed the path to unity with Brahma oneself, and also with Vishnu. So here we have an individual who's an incarnation of Shiva, who was doing devotional bhakti with Brahma and also knowledge-based, and did songs to Vishnu or Govinda. So we have the great tripartite male god forms in India all in one, which is why he perhaps is the greatest political and social and philosophical thinker of India and Indian thought. Now, Shankaracharya, as an individual, maintained his monasticism throughout his life and purified his mind continually through 4 different ways. And these 4 different ways are the example of what it means to be a Vedantist. And there are many Vedantists in the world now, including the Ramakrishna and Vivekananda people and those who read those studies. And one could say, in a way, that Yogananda himself is very much in the Advaita Vedanta manner or way. The 4 principles are to read and know the scriptures, to use critical reasoning in everything and to question everything and find the answers for yourself, and also to use your own personal experience as a way, and not to believe what others say or do, but it's all through personal experience. And lastly, through intensive daily spiritual practices your whole life long, even up until and beyond the moment of physical death. So we have that as our guide. Knowledge of the scriptures, the use of critical reasoning and questioning everything, spiritual practices, and using your own personal experience to include all those 3. And so we have a man who actually is a model and a mentor for anyone on either a spiritual path or on a metaphysical path. Shankaracharya then used the notion of joining together the 10 Hindu groups that he so-called converted to the Vedantist way, which is the unity of Atman, or spirit, universal spirit, or the one soul of the universe, the unity of that one Atman with Brahma, the creator. And that's, in simplest forms, what Vedanta is. These 10 Hindu sects were brought together. He trained them, and they had many discourses and debates among themselves. And then as he continued to travel around the Indian subcontinent, he founded 4 monasteries. which still exist today. 4 individual lineages and monasteries, which are all Vedanta and somewhat now evolved in their own way, but one is in the north of India, one is in the south of India, one is in the east of India, and one is in the west of India. And they are monasteries, and there is a lineage within each of the 4 traditions there of the Shankara lineages. So we have presently in India right now 4 different Shankaras, each in their four directions of India, that continue to teach Vedanta in the form that they do at this time. I've actually watched some of them on video in some interviews, and it's very interesting to watch as well. What can we gain from knowing about Adi Shankaracharya? His internal and eternal wisdom and knowledge and the path to self-enlightenment and self-mastery is something that I've studied and increasingly study now in my own life. And I feel in this war-torn, kind of weary world that we're in now, where there seems to be no moral compass nor any intellectual or metaphysical compass, that this knowledge of the unity of all consciousness, the unity of all thought, the unity of the one universe, the one Atman, therefore the unity of the one family of all our sisters and brothers, is very essential to a time when the factions and fracturing is happening and so many wars are happening as people divide into sectarianism. We need to devote ourselves individually and collectively to knowing the unity of all consciousness and Atman and soul and creation and our own divine human nature. I trust this has been inspiring for you. Adi Shankaracharya, The Crest Jewel of Discrimination, is a great book you might want to read. Om Namah Shivaya, Dr. Joseph Martin here with you and for you.